Hello, beautiful people. I am your friendly guide, Mr. Smart. In this episode of the 7 Habits series, we'll learn how to utilize this animated series and the original book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, to fully understand, internalize, and practice the essence of the 7 habits. This self-improvement will not be possible without intentional efforts in the right direction, so Mr. Smart advises you to seek self-mastery by practicing the first 3 habits. Be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first. These habits will move you from the state of dependence to independence. Mr. Smart explores the paradigms of dependence, independence, and interdependence in detail in a separate episode of the 7 Habits series. You can conveniently find its link in the description and card. Independence and private victory is the result of mastering the first 3 habits. With the achievement of these private victories and improvements, you'll have the character base from which you can effectively work on more personality-oriented public victories of teamwork, cooperation, and communication. These qualities will lead you to interdependence, and only truly independent people can achieve such interdependence. These public victories are the natural consequence of the next 3 habits, which are: think win-win, seek first to understand, then to be understood, and synergize. However, Mr. Smart wants to remind you that it's not necessary to fully achieve a private victory before working on a public one. Don't stifle yourself for years trying to work on a private victory before you even attempt to work on a public victory. You can work on both of these types of victories side by side. A clear understanding of sequence will enable you to manage and monitor your growth and development more effectively. Now, the final and 7th habit is to sharpen the saw. Now, this means to undergo frequent self-renewal on 4 levels: the physical, spiritual, mental, and social. We shall learn, or rather live these ideas step by step. So, my viewers, subscribe to Mr. Smart and join us in our endeavor to promote smart living. I love to inspire my friends and fellows to live a smart life physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially. The 7 Habits series is a part of this bigger effort to promote smart living. This series consists of animated videos which elaborate and expound on the principles which Stephen Richards Covey has advocated in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This book has empowered and inspired readers for over 25 years. And still, it sits on the bestseller list, with 25 million copies sold worldwide. That's because it enshrines principles which are not bound by time or geography. He wrote this book in 1989, and when he did, he fused the genre of self-help and business literature. My fellows, my friends, my viewers, I'm sure these guidelines will go a long way in attaining private as well as public victories, provided you follow and put them into action. It's not something you can read in a minute and put in a drawer and expect a miracle from. No, it requires specific actions on your part. Moreover, it requires an open mind and soul to change. Stephen Covey writes, "No one can persuade another to change. Each of us guards a gate of change that can only be opened from the inside. We cannot open the gate of another, either by argument or by emotional appeal." So Mr. Smart would love his audience to open this gate of change. Only then will you be able to create new habits, which will in turn bring about revolutionary changes in your private as well as public life. And Mr. Smart wishes you the best of luck in this lifetime journey. Beautiful viewers, like this video if you found it interesting. Also, subscribe to Mr. Smart if you've not subscribed already, and join him in his journey to smart living. And yes, don't forget to hit the bell button for notifications so that you don't miss any episodes of the 7 Habits series. It's totally free. Hello, beautiful friends and viewers. I'm your friendly guide, Mr. Smart. Today I'm going to share with you my journey to becoming proactive in my life and work. Being proactive is the first of the 7 habits that Stephen Covey advocates in his best-selling book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This animated video is part of the 7 Habits series based on Covey's book. It will guide and help you take an important step towards smart living. Subscribe and join us in our mission if you want to know how to live smartly on 4 levels: physical, mental, emotional, and financial. Now let us come back to our topic of the day. Once upon a time, I was what Stephen refers to in his book, a reactive person. My mood and my performance were dependent upon external stimuli. If people treated me good, I'd feel good and perform well. If the weather was bright and warm, I would outshine anyone else. But if I felt someone treated me badly, or maybe the weather was too wet or too cold, I would feel terrible. Once I made a plan for a picnic with my family and friends. All the preparations were in place. We were all ready to go, but the weather turned stormy and it killed our plan. I felt terribly. My whole day was ruined. I asked myself, why does this keep happening to me? Then Stephen Covey and his book became my friends in my journey to becoming an effective person. So friends, come closer. A bit more closer. Let me share with you what Stephen Covey has taught me. To be proactive means to take the responsibility of our own actions. Let us get out of the bad habit of blaming our surroundings or circumstances or other external conditions for our own behavior. We are responsible for our own lives. Actions, decisions, and behaviors, they're all ours. In fact, our behavior is a function of our own decisions, not external conditions and stimuli. External conditions can be favorable or unfavorable, but it is we who are responsible for our own decisions and responses to that. Our responses are based on our values, and we have the ability to subordinate our feelings to values. The ability to exercise this control on an impulse for a value is the essence of what a proactive person is. Proactive people are driven by their values, while the reactive person is driven by feelings and external circumstances. Let's just look at the word responsibility. It simply means the ability to choose your own responses. Proactive people take the responsibility of their actions. Their behavior is a product of their own decisions, based on values rather than feelings. Proactive people are not dependent on external stimuli. Their mood and performance are not dependent on how the weather is or who says something nice about them on social media. They carry all the stimuli they need to accomplish their task within them. The exact opposite is reactive. Reactive people say that the rain spoiled their plan. Negativity will prevail in their lives as they perceive external forces to be in control and adversity to be in abundance. Now, that's not to say that proactive people are not still influenced by external conditions and stimuli. These, by the way, can be physical, social, or psychological. But the responses of proactive people to these stimuli are based on their values and by choice. Former First Lady of the United States of America and political activist Eleanor Roosevelt profoundly said, "No one can hurt you without your consent." Let that settle in for now. Friends of Mr. Smart, you should be clear that being proactive and taking initiative does not mean being pushy or aggressive at all. It simply means that you recognize your responsibility to make things happen. Proactive people are not pushy or insensitive. Rather, they are smart and value-driven. They read the situation and know what is needed. My friends, I told you at the start of this video that I used to be a highly ineffective person before I started to practice what Stephen Covey has outlined in this book. I was in a habit of covering up my mistakes, instead of addressing them and learning from them. When I made a mistake, I would employ circular logic to somehow turn it into anything other than a mistake. Or even if I had to admit it was a mistake, I would do my very best to shift the blame to my circumstances, the weather, traffic, or any innocent soul around me. I didn't realize at the time that committing the mistake wasn't the problem, but not acknowledging it, not correcting it, and not learning from it certainly became a big problem. In fact, it's the biggest mistake of all. It will set you on a self-deceiving and self-justifying path. It is the rationalization of our mistakes to self and others. I learned from Stephen Covey that a proactive person makes mistakes, but he will acknowledge it, correct it, and certainly learn from it. After all, chasing a poisonous snake after it's bitten you instead of seeking medical attention will only drive poison through your body faster. Covering a mistake is just like chasing that poisonous snake. Instead of covering his mistakes, A proactive person will focus all his energies on correcting it. My friends, do you think that being proactive can improve your life and work? What challenges do you face on your way to becoming highly proactive in your life? Let your fellow viewers and Mr. Smart know about your opinion in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video if its content has helped you to take a step towards smart living. And yes, subscribe to Mr. Smart if you've not subscribed already. And hit the bell button for notifications so that you don't miss any episodes by Mr. Smart. What are you waiting for? It is totally free. Hello, my fellows. I'm your friendly guide, Mr. Smart. Today we shall discuss habit number 2 of Stephen Covey's best-selling book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is to begin with the end in mind. Here I need to remind you that this animation is part of the 7 Habits series based on what I've learned from Stephen's book. Our mission is to help you in becoming smart physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially. So subscribe and join Mr. Smart to learn, practice, and promote smart living. Now let us dive back into today's topic. Begin with the end in mind. It's exactly what I used to struggle with in my life. I would often get distracted with individual daily chores, forgetting everything I was supposed to accomplish for the entire day. This tendency I had to get bogged down by each chore rendered me ineffective. I was busy, but not effective, not really productive. I felt as if I was working, but no goals had been achieved. Then I befriended Stephen Covey in his book. I got to realize that my ladder was leaning on the wrong wall and I was moving fast in the wrong direction. Covey suggests having a very clear mission of your life. Then every step we take, every bit of our work, will move us closer to our ultimate goal. Without a clear sense of direction and priorities, we tend to get easily distracted and diffused. We may end up achieving professional competence, recognition, or money at the cost of our health, relationships, and peace of mind. Only too late would we realize that we've achieved empty victories at the cost of what was most important and dear to us. Imagine being at your own funeral and see what people are saying about you. And then pick a destination that you want to get to in your life and start your journey right from this very moment in the direction of your chosen destination. This intentional effort is necessary. Otherwise, you will end up any place other than the one you truly wanted. Another good way is to write out your personal mission statement, which clearly defines what you want to achieve in your life and what your principles are. My friends, I hope you are enjoying this animation. You'll find these animations very useful if you're interested in living a smart life physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially. Subscribe to this channel and join me in this endeavor to promote smart living. Like much of the discussed topics in Stephen's book, this habit is equally important in business life. It creates leaders who can carry a business in difficult and uncertain terrains. Such leaders build positive organizational culture and harmonious teams. These effective leaders can read the changing trends in business that efficient managers often overlook. The sad demise of Nokia from being the world's best mobile phone company to losing it all by 2013 is quite noteworthy. This spectacular failure was the result of a culture of arrogance and fear, in spite of the best human resources employed with Nokia. This culture starts at the top and oozes towards the bottom. In this regard, Nokia failed miserably. There were many efficient managers at Nokia to handle daily tasks, but no effective leaders who could read the changing trends and identify internal weaknesses without being drunk with arrogance and overconfidence with past successes. They were more bureaucratic in their structure, which compelled their people to do things by the book. Truly effective leaders do the right things, while efficient managers do things by the book. Only the leaders who begin with the end in mind have the courage to do the right things. This can be the fine-tuning of the overall direction of a business or correcting the prevalent organizational culture. In Nokia, there were plenty of efficient managers with short-term goals, agendas, and targets. But there was no leader who began with the end in mind, who could correct the trajectory of Nokia. Technically speaking, the software of Nokia phones were inferior to that of Apple's iPhone, but leaders at Nokia were too arrogant to accept it and take corrective measures. On the other hand, efficient managers were too busy in achieving their quarterly targets. Plus, they feared losing their jobs if they spoke the truth in front of top management and leadership. That's the culture of failure. My viewers, my fellows, my friends, what have you learned from the failure of the mighty Nokia? How can the habit of begin with the end in mind improve your life and work? Let your fellow viewers and your friendly guide, Mr. Smart, know in the comments section. It is our mission to promote smart living on 4 levels: physical, mental, emotional, and financial. Subscribe and join me to learn, practice, and promote smart living. And yes, don't forget to hit the bell button for notifications so that you don't miss any video from Mr. Smart. It is totally free, and it is entirely for your own well-being. So what are you waiting for? Just subscribe and learn to be smart. Hello, my fellows. I'm your friendly guide, Mr. Smart. In today's episode, we'll learn Habit 3, put first things first. This episode is part of the 7 Habits series, based on what I've learned from Stephen Covey's best-selling book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I highly recommend for you to watch the following 3 episodes of our 7 Habits series in order to fully understand and practice the habits of highly effective people. They are Guidelines to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, What Does Habit Mean? And How to Form Habits. As always, you can conveniently find the links to these videos in the description below. Now let us come back to today's topic, put first things first. Now habit 3 is the time management habit. It means to put those things first, which are more important. In other words, the activities that matter most should never be left to the mercy of activities that matter least. Get it? I thought you would. But what's really special here is that habit 2, begin with the end in mind, should have already come to our aid previously. It separates the important activities from the not so important ones with a clear mission, goals, and roles. So we can profoundly say that habit 3 is piggybacking off of habit 2 and making things happen. Habit 2 is about mission, goals, and roles, destination, while habit 3 is the scheduling to achieve them. Habit 2 is about setting the priorities, while habit 3 is the discipline to take action. Now, time is your servant, not your master. Habit 2 is a mental and philosophical creation, while habit 3 is the physical one. So, all things are created twice, first in our mind and then in our physical life. And never think about people in terms of efficiency. Rather, manage things for efficiency. People are more important than schedules. A schedule is not important in itself. What is more important is your mission as a whole. If there's an emergency situation that pops up relating to a dear family member, you should be flexible enough to be able to immediately adapt your schedule accordingly. It is exactly what Put First Things First was created for. Caring and building relations with your family members is in quadrant 2 in the time management matrix. I've made a separate animated video for your understanding of the time management matrix. You can conveniently find the link to this video in the description as well. The 7 habits that Stephen Covey advocates in his book are: number 1, be proactive. Number 2, begin with the end in mind. Number 3, put first things first. Number 4, think win-win. Number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Number 6, synergize. Number 7, sharpen the saw. Undergo frequent self-renewal. Our fellows, our friends, our viewers, it's our mission to promote smart living on 4 levels: physical, mental, emotional, and financial. Subscribe and join Mr. Smart to learn more. We do this entirely for you, and it is totally free. So what are you waiting for?